for it to be the middle of October, it is really freaking hot. It's like 70 degrees outside today. I cannot live my fall girl dreams when it's hot. I've been trying to wear sweaters, sweating my ass off because it's still hot outside. But I'm also not gonna complain because then I can wear my hot girl Halloween costume and not have to worry about being cold. So my point is, if you see my armpits sweating, mind your business. So today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I want to read for the end of the year. Originally this was going to be the books I want to read for fall, but then I realized fall ends in the middle of December and this stack of books doesn't match up with what I wanted to read. So essentially these are all the books I want to read, despite like some sequels and stuff like that. I do have some books, and then there are some books that I'm trying to read, you know, this month that I didn't include. So like The Bones of Ruins, The Magicians, and Vespertine, and Kingdom of the Curse. So some of these I do want to read this month specifically, but the way that I planned this video out didn't really make sense. But I'm just gonna get into it. So the first book I have is Howl in the Dark, and this one is the second book of Empire of Silence. I love this cover. I thought the book was okay, and this year I've not been doing good at it, but I've been trying to work on reading series that I started even though I didn't give the books 5 stars. So because usually books get better as the series goes on, but it's kind of hard to believe when you read the first book and you're like, that was meh, you know? So I really do want to read this series because the covers are so good, and I actually really do like the main character. So basically the Empire of Silence is about this guy who his family is like really royalty, and the royalty is going to be like passed down to him, but it actually ends up being passed on to his brother because his dad favors his brother, but he doesn't care because he doesn't want to do that anyways. He wants to do something else. I think he wants to like fly spaceships or something like that because it is sci-fi, and his father will not let him. So it's just about him having this passion that his father won't let him do, and then him trying to like go and do it himself, and it's basically him telling the story of like what happened in his life. And so this book picks up where that book left off. So the next book I have is The Wolf of Orion Euro, and this book has been on my want to read. It's called Chronicles of the Bitch Queen. I'm a little scared that this might be corny. That's why I haven't picked it up yet, because this book has been on my want to read for almost a year now, I think, and I've just been scared to read it because it sounds corny. Like, they call me Bitch Queen, the she-wolf, because I murdered a man and exiled my queen the night before they crowned me. I don't know, sounds kind of badass, sounds kind of corny. So Orbit is the one who published this, and I trust Orbit. So next books I have are a book in a series, and that is, hopefully I don't get makeup on them like I did the first book, but Before They're Hanged and The Last Argument of Kings. So this book follows right after The Blade itself, which I did enjoy. The Blade itself, I ended up giving it 2 stars because I ended up giving it 3 stars before it's more character focused. But Jocelyn, my best friend over at Jocelyn Reads, has been reading this book, and we would FaceTime sometimes, and this girl would be on FaceTime just giggling while reading this book, giggling and talking to herself. So and she keeps saying like, oh man, you have to read it, you're gonna love it, you have to read it. So I'm obviously gonna read it because I own all the books, and the books in like the 3rd era he has. I am gonna read these, but it's just I want to know what she was giggling about, you know. So of course now I have to read it for sure. I'm actually gonna pause for a minute and talk about some books that I want to read that I do not own. Okay, so the first book I want to read is Alloy of the Law, which is this is a series. This is the Mistborn 2nd era, and I really want to read this because I hear it's a lot better. Like, I liked Mistborn, but all in all I would give the series like 3.5 stars. Like, it was fine. It wasn't like anything like I was obsessed with. So I do want to read the 2nd era because a lot of people like that, plus he's coming out with a 3rd era, so I do want to check that out. And I also want to read Game of Thrones. I have read the first book, but the thing was I want to reread the first book because now that I'm in my adult fantasy stuff, like, I really think that I could read it from a different perspective and appreciate it a lot more. Because when I first read it, I wasn't really into adult fantasy yet, and I don't think I really appreciated it. So I think if I reread it, I'll have a new appreciation for it, or maybe I could watch the series first and then read the books. But I want to read the books because I want to be prepared for like when he releases the final book, and I also want to, if he ever does, and I also want to read Fire and Blood. And I'm sorry, the books look so good on everyone's shelves. I just want to re-own the books. I know I gave them away, but I don't actually want the hardcovers anymore. There is these paperbacks that I really like that aren't the original paperbacks. They're like black kind of, and I really want to get those. So I want to make sure that I really like it, and unlike last time, like buy all these hardcovers and not, you know, end up unhauling them, which I end up giving them to all my best friends. So, and then the last book that I have that is like I don't own yet, I am gonna buy this book, is Iron Widow. So this one, I don't really remember what it's about, but I know that it is inspired by, what is it called, Pacific Rim, which is a sci-fi movie, which I am gonna watch because I watched Arium from Marion Reed, sometimes also Fire Nation on Twitter and I think Instagram. She did a vlog where she read her anticipated releases, and she read this one and said that she wasn't really familiar with the world because she's never seen Pacific Rim, so she really recommends that you watch that first. So I am gonna watch that. It is also like sci-fi, which I am getting into sci-fi a lot more. I'm actually pretty well into sci-fi. I just guess I just haven't read, like, I really do like sci-fi, so I want to read that. It's also compared to, damn, I forgot what else she compared it to, but I want to read it. The next books I have are, these are way out of order, you don't know why I did that, are The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. These covers are just so like pretty to me. Who would have ever thought that I would be like a paperback girl? Like, y'all know I used to be strictly hardcover. So yeah, I do want to read these. I put these in all out of order. This is the first one, this is the second one, and this is the third one. I'm just gonna hold this one up. Okay, so I do want to read this series. I started it and the audiobook was like so long, and now I've gotten, and this one isn't even as long as like most of the books I've read this year. So this year I've really been getting into longer books, and I'm really proud of myself. So I feel like this book is gonna be like nothing to me. So I feel like now that I'm like well into reading bigger books, this one will be good. And I want to kind of say the same for the next one. So the next book I have is Leviathan, and I actually have started this book, and I actually got like almost 200 pages into it. So I was enjoying it. I left my bookmark in here, but I'm just gonna start from the beginning actually. So I was really enjoying it. I was buddy reading with this with Jocelyn, but we kind of just stopped reading. And I think my issue is sometimes with bigger books I have to just really sit down and read it for like 1 or 2 days, and so it was taking us a bit longer than what I wanted. So I just stopped reading it. So I'm gonna start from the beginning. And this book actually isn't that long. Like I said, I've been reading a lot of longer books this month, or this year, the second half of this year. So I really think that I can just, you know, get to this book. Also, the 10th anniversary edition is so pretty. I have to have it. Speaking of starting books and never finishing it, I have to read Jade War. Fondly is so funny to me. I see her on Twitter all the time. She's hilarious. Also, she posts fan art from the books, and the characters are very sexy. I have to read it. I have to check it out. I gotta tap in. So I actually did start this book. I got 150 pages into it, and I just stopped reading it. Not because I didn't like it, but as you can see, I just do that sometimes. And this book was a lot longer than what I was used to when I read it. But now that I'm kind of, you know, into reading longer books, I'm more prepared for this one. And it's not that like I want to finish books fast or anything. I like to read book quickly, I guess. They're not really fast to me, but a lot of people think they're fast. I like to read books within like, you know, not one sitting, but like a day or 2 days. I don't like to really go along more than like 4 days reading a book, because the longer I take to read a book, the less interested I am. I don't know what's up with that. Like, that is a me thing, but I just always feel like less about a book. So I feel like if I got a day where I can just listen to the audiobook at work and just chill, I'm definitely going to like and love this book. The next book I have is She Who Became the Sun, which I need to hurry and read. I got this audiobook on Audible. This is my final credit, because if you guys didn't know, I'm banned from like returning my books because I returned them too much. So this is the last one I have with my credit until I get, like, you know, I do still get my credits every single month, but I'm just so used to having like 7 to like 20 credits. So now that I have to like sit here and like use other sites, it's a bit harder for me to find certain books. But anyway, so She Who Became the Sun, I don't really, oh, I'm not describing what these books are about. I am so sorry. This one, I don't really remember what this one is about. I just know that it's compared to the popular in Mulan. I feel like every Asian fantasy is always compared to Mulan, and that is similar to every black thriller being compared to Get Out. So if any of you guys are Asian, I want to know, like, do you guys get annoyed? Because I know Mulan is really loved. So do you guys ever get annoyed that a lot of like fantasies are compared to Mulan? Because I get annoyed that a lot of thrillers are compared to Get Out, especially because they're usually never actually like Get Out. They just follow like the theme of race, and I guess to people that is Get Out. So the next book I have is Warbreaker. So I have this one because it said that you don't have to, it's not required, you should read Warbreaker before you read The Way of Kings. So I definitely want to get to this one just because I really want to love the world, and I'm scared that if I read The Way of Kings I won't like it as much. Basically I'm doing everything I can to make sure that I really like this book. Like, it suggested you read Mistborn before you read The Way of Kings, and I did that, and it suggested that you read Warbreaker before you read The Way of Kings, and I'm doing that. So basically I'm just scared that I won't like it. Also, if you are wondering where I got this cover from, this cover I got from Amazon. No, I got from Book Depository UK. Book Depository, I don't know why I say UK. Book Depository. Any like covers that aren't the US covers, I typically get them from Book Depository or Amazon UK. They're not really special editions, they're just the UK like editions, and sometimes I like them a lot more. So basically me and Book Depository are besties. Oh, looks like I was giving out a finger. Me and Book Depository are besties. So yeah, the only thing is the shipping takes a lot longer than what I'm used to. Like, it's not too long, like they usually come before the shipping dates. I'm just so used to Amazon, and I live close to an Amazon warehouse, so sometimes I can order stuff and it'll get there the exact same day I order it. The next book I have is finally The Way of Kings, and this one is, you know, a high fantasy, very talked about. It is gonna be like, what, a 10-book series. There's only 4 books out right now. I'm still getting into Brandon Sanderson. I haven't even read like a third of his work yet, so I kind of have a long way to go before I read this, and I guess I'm just really scared that I won't like it, especially because it's 1,000 pages, and sometimes I tend to not like longer books because, like I said earlier, the longer it takes for me to finish a book, because I always think, did this book need to be this long? Like, it literally, usually when authors have like long books, and I'm talking about like 1,000 pages or like 700 pages plus, I'm always like, did this book really need to be this long? Like, you could have cut some stuff down. Like, I'm always like criticizing on if it should have been this long or not. So I'm scared that I'm gonna read this and not like it because it's a lot longer, especially if it takes me too long to read. Then I'm really not gonna like it. The last freaking Brandon Sanderson of this list I have is Starsight. So what is it called? Sonic. The 3rd book comes out literally next month, and I need to read this. Now, I'm mad that the first book is called Skyward, this book is called Starsight, and the 3rd one is called Chronic. Yes, I am. Why would you name all the books so far S's and then the 3rd one a C? Why would you do that to me, Brandon? I don't understand your motives here. Anyways, I really enjoyed Skyward. So basically, I have to hurry and read this one. Also, the novellas are already out. I thought the novellas were coming out like a lot later than, you know, not now already. So basically, this is telling me that the series is coming out a lot sooner than I think it is, and I need to hurry up and read it. The next book I have is These Violent Delights, and the second book, Two Violent Ends. Sorry, I literally have to say the Shakespeare quotes because it's called Two Violent Ends instead of These Violent Ends. That's one thing that makes me mad. 2, the second cover is actually ugly. Why would I hate when people give the second book a pretty, they give the first book a pretty black cover, and then the second book is some random color. Why didn't you keep it black? If you're gonna have a duology, make them both the same color. Why is the second book red? And it's a little bit ugly, but I probably feel like in person it's going to be really beautiful, so whatever. But I still have to read this one. This one is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, a lot darker than Romeo and Juliet, I hear, and everyone loves the ships. The author put some quotes on Twitter sometimes. I really like them, but I'm also scared because the book was really hyped when it first came out, but then like a month after it did, like it actually started to get a lot of polarizing reviews, so then people started like not liking it, so I'm scared I'm gonna be in a not like, which is why it's taking me so long. But also, even though I don't mind waiting, I still hate waiting. So I was like, oh well, why read the book right now when I can just wait until the sequel? So I'll just read this one and then the sequel. Is a book that has been on my TBR for a while, and that is To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. But as I've been saying this entire video, I basically, me not wanting to read long books has been holding me back from reading so many books. So now that I am more used to reading longer books, I'm basically going to be trying to read a lot more longer books. So To Sleep in the Sea of Stars is a sci-fi novel. I've had this book for so long that I don't know what it's about, which is the case for basically all these books. Like, I'm pretty good at describing books, I think, even books I haven't read. The book I have, yes, this book is still on my list, Dune. Supposed to be, hopefully by the time you watch this video I have already read it, because I'm supposed to be, the movie comes out as I'm filming this. The movie comes out next Friday, so I want to read it the Monday before the movie comes out. So when you're probably watching this, the movie will already be out and probably have been out for like a few days. So hopefully I would have future me, you know, has hopefully read, me have already read this book, and future me hopefully loves this book, is a huge stan, you know, cheering. We love this book. This book I have is The Atlas 6. I was supposed to read this one for my book club, but I just never got to it. I actually am in the middle of reading it. I really like it so far. What's his name? Nico. I love him. I don't care what he does. I love him. He could murder somebody in this book. I'm actually hoping he does. I love him. Also, I had to hurry and read this book because I pre-ordered the tour book that they're releasing in March 1st, so I want to hurry and read this book to make sure I really like it. So just in case I don't like it, I can just cancel my pre-order, and then if I love it, I can keep it, and I already got it pre-ordered, so that means that, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So far from what I've read, this one is about these group of people who all have like special like powers, and they go to a magic school, and they're all being recruited to work with a guy named Atlas. But we don't really know what they're working with yet, or why they've really been recruited, why they've been recruited. But I have had fun reading this so far, so I do have high hopes. Well, no, I don't want to say high hopes, but the next book I have is If We Were Villains. This book has been on my list for years. This one is a Shakespeare retelling of, well, it's not a Shakespeare retelling, but in this book they're putting on a play for Macbeth, which is one of my favorite Shakespeare books so far. And I've only read one other like Shakespeare play book so far. Well, two actually. I've read two. One was a contemporary, which I did not like, and so I didn't like the other one, which is the author of Bunny, Mona Awad. I did not like that book. I'm so sorry. But yeah, so I really wish that I would like If We Were Villains, just because it's dark academia. I usually don't not like dark academia, to be honest, except for Bunny. That's neither here nor there. So I really hope I'm gonna like this one, because girl, I thought this was a bug. I was about to start tripping. The next book, and the only romance book I have on this list, is The Love Hypothesis. I haven't gotten to this book yet, simply because at this point I'm saving it for a video that I want to do, but also because I have not been reading a lot of romance books. I'm banning myself from reading too many romance books in fall. So I've already read like 8 romance books this month, so I can't read anymore until November, simply because I want to get through my fantasy books. So the next book I have is Apples Never Fall, and this one is this author's newest release. And I do have Big Little Lies, but I figure, okay, this one might be a little bit easier to like start off with. The next book I have is Blood of the Exile, which has been on my fantasy TBR forever. This one, I don't even remember what it has to do, but it does have to do with dragons. The third book came out, and I do have the first 2 books, and these covers are very beautiful. I got them from Book Depository, just in case you were wondering. I have Vita Nostra, which I rebought in hardcover because I didn't know they had one. So now I have a paperback and a hardcover. But this one is a dark academia, and this one is about this girl who goes to the school, and whenever you do something that you need to be punished for, you end up, like, your family and friends ends up being punished for it. And also it has something to do with coins. But this one is translated, so it is a series. The author just hasn't translated the work yet. So I really am excited to like see when the rest of the books get, you know, translated. The next book I have is also a book that is always on my list, and that is Ashes of the Sun. It's gotten to the point where I don't even remember what this book is about, but it's so pretty. I like am obsessed with this cover. I love Orbit's like covers, like they're so, anyways, yeah, this one actually isn't, it's like 500 pages, which now 500 pages is like nothing to me, but like 600, 700 is where you're like pushing it for me. Okay, I'm down to my last 2 books now. So the second to last book I want to show you is Red Rising, which hopefully by the time you watch this video I've read this book. This one is my best friend Jocelyn's favorite book, and it's sci-fi, and I've been trying to like get into sci-fi a lot more. I've been trying to read this book for years now and I just have not, and the series was like so long, so I think that's also why, because I don't do good with big books, and I don't do good with long series. So basically I don't even know why I picked this up, but it's highly talked about and I do want to give it a try. And the last book that I want to talk about is Battle Royale. So I've had this book for a while now, and basically this is what Hunger Games ripped off of. Like, Hunger Games took a lot of ideas from this book, and I watched Squid Game just like everyone else, and I was obsessed. And so when I was watching Squid Game, I was like, you know what sounds like the exact same idea? Battle Royale. So I feel like this would be such a perfect time to read the book like in fall, especially because I'm obsessed with like the whole like game or die theme. I love it. I'm obsessed. Okay, so I definitely have to get to this one. I'm so obsessed, and I also want to watch the movie, which I didn't know there was a movie. A lot of things I'm missing on here. I'm just so excited for this one. So if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and leave me down some books you want to read by the end of the year. Doesn't have to be fantasy or sci-fi. It can be romance. You know, I'm still a romance girl, but since I spent all of my time in summer reading romance, I gotta spend the time in my fall and winter reading fantasy just to get back on track. So leave me some romance books, so you know, just in case I want to sneak some in that I want to read, like some you've read, some you think are really good, some you want to read. Tell me what books that you also just want to read. Like, if any of these books intrigue you, if you've read any of these books, please tell me your opinions. I am not opposed to other people's opinions. Actually, that's why I use Goodreads so much. I love hearing other people's opinions. So please, if you have any opinions on these books, give them to me. So yeah, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.